$1,832.20. Thank you.
I noticed in reviewing the financial statement, there are a number of deficits, but I'm assuming things are okay because Patty didn't pass anything on that
Yeah, overall.
indicated otherwise, so.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I leave the hard math to her, but overall, I can tell you, we also have a whole lot of.
You know, that was something that Keith was gonna do, and I haven't talked to him, so I can call him prior to your next meeting if you'd like and bring a report back.
I did talk to Keith a while back, and I think he said May 15th is the cutoff date for proposals on the trees that they're ordering. So other than that, I don't know what his plan is for removing the stumps or for planting, but that's the only information that I have. So hopefully somebody follows up.
Yep.
Bob, would it be helpful if we had another small meeting, or like we did last time, or, I mean, May 15th right around the corner, right? Maybe just a phone, I'd be happy to make a phone call to Keith and find out.
Sure, if you want to set something up, I could attend. I don't know about Katie.
It depends
Well,
when it
I
is.
could also just start by calling him and see if I can't get an update that I can send
Is
to you.
it just to
by email.
coordinate the, getting it done, the project, or are there more
Or
questions?
just, I think the question is the schedule.
Oh,
Yeah, apparently there's a time of year where buying these trees is going to be a good deal, and if you think it's May 15th is sort of a deadline, I would love to find out where we stand on that.
I think they went out to bid on them, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Let me give him a call and I'll see if I can't get you an update.
We had a planning meeting earlier in the late winter, and we discussed the trees we were buying, the kinds that we were, and how they were going to be arranged. And then nothing much has happened, but I guess if the date, John is probably right that the date is May 15th, so that's why we haven't seen any action.
it's probably a good idea to reach out to Keith.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm happy to do that. Get a sense of where things rest right now.
Okay. Building update on recent building inspector
The
visit.
stuff during the break, we had an electrician here, and he's got all of the emergency lighting up to where it needs to be. That ended up costing us about $700. The sprinkler contractor was here, and his original purchase order was for $4,300. He found a couple of significant leaks while he was here, and the original proposal he gave us for pendant heads was for 5, and he went around the building and counted and got 20. So he's given us a proposal for an additional $4,600 to take care of the couple of leaks and to do the additional heads. So I'd like, hopefully, to get permission to tell him to go ahead with that tonight.
No, I just wonder where
How are we gonna pay for it?
where it's coming from.
That's the same, there's money in that.
Oh, that's right,
There's money
we
in
have
that
that
budget?
account, yes,
Oh, this
okay.
is from the-
Yeah.
Yep.
Last time I had an update on that account, I think it was in the low 40s.
That's okay. And the stage curtain was scheduled to be fireproofed on the Friday of the break. That's a one-person company. He called me that Friday and said he had a family emergency. He's rescheduled to come out here on Saturday, the 13th of May. So either myself or someone will meet him here and get him in, and he can take care of that. And I'm gonna probably, that's a process now that if the building inspector is gonna keep after us on it, it's gonna have to be done every 3 years. And I think I priced out a new curtain at something like $2,000. So I will probably start putting in my long-term budget that we ought to consider replacing that with a curtain that's permanently fireproofed.
Oh, they're permanently fired.
Yeah, the new ones are made of a
Treated.
material that doesn't
Oh,
have
good.
to be redone.
How much does the fireproofing cost?
Pardon me?
How much does it cost to fireproof?
What we're fireproof, it's costing us $650 now for something that'll run for 3 years. And that's if it was a newer curtain, maybe for a couple of 3-year intervals, we'd do that. But, there's some wear and tear on the corner of that curtain, and so if we get another 3 years out of it, or at the most 6 years, and try to budget a new curtain, I think that'd be a good thing to do. I've got 2 proposals for work on the streetlights. One of which is for the lights that were damaged by the fire from the heat. And that proposal, the way I originally presented it, is for $3,873. $1,640 of that is for replacing the wiring inside of it that's melted, and $2,233 was for replacing the poles. In talking with Pete today, he questions the need for replacing the poles. I see it as one of those issues that could go either way. I mean, if the insurance company will pay for 2 new poles, it gives us an opportunity to maybe have spare 2 that we can use to, if we're going to repaint them, we can repaint them on the ground. I'm not sure. A lot depends on how you folks perceive it and want to handle it with the insurance company. The poles are perfectly serviceable, but, you know, they are somewhat scorched on the backside from the fire.
Well, I mean, it's worth asking the question, you know, whether they'll pay for replacing them.
My concerns are, I guess, kind of twofold. One is that I had a good hard look at those poles, and I would be, not being a fire inspector, I'd be hard pressed to pick out the ones that look bad because of the fire. They all have peeling paint on them and some rust on them. The aesthetic concern is, can we get 2 poles that match the other poles? Otherwise, we're going to have 2 poles back there that don't look alike. And if they come unpainted, then we got to paint them anyway. So, and you know, I understand the insurance company may pay for it, but I'd rather send them a reasonable bill and feel insured that they will pay for it. I would like Andy to take a look at that work to determine whether it's something we could, you know, scrape the paint off, fix up the poles, and then just let them do the wiring. I didn't realize there were 2 poles involved, because with the first part of the job where the wiring had melted, that was only inside one pole. They may be suggesting to change the other pole just because of the cosmetics, which again, we might be able to take care of the cosmetics and not spend, I don't know how much
So
money it
who's
is.
suggesting that we replace the poles?
Building inspector, right?
Well,
No?
after the fire, we had someone check them, just to be sure, because they were
Okay.
right, one of them particularly was right at the fire.
Yeah.
And they, you know, in fact, one of the poles wasn't working, I believe.
That's right.
And so they repaired it, and they said the wire was melted inside of it. So they gave us pricing for replacing the wiring. And basically what they said is they, you know, they saw the fact that the poles had peeling paint on them and that sort of thing, and you can see a little bit of soot on them. So, you know, their proposal was that we can, we need to have our eyes open as we do it, because often we'll repair something like that, and someone will say, well, what'd you do? It looks just the same as before, so.
So they, as the insurance company, said they suggested that? No.
No, the insurance company's going to get paperwork from us, whatever we submit to them.
Okay.
The folks from Universal Electric,
Oh, the
I
lighting
suppose, are the
company.
ones
I
who
see.
recommended
Yeah, I'm
changing
sorry.
the poles.
Well,
All right. So, but just to add a little more detail, so that, the one post, right now, everything is working. The lights work.
The lights work.
And they've been working since just, you know, a couple of weeks after the fire is when we discovered that one lamppost was out. And then we saw, there are 4 back there, 2 on the fire side, 2 on the garage side. We noticed that the back one on the garage side, the front one on the fire side weren't working. 2 entirely different reasons. The one in the back wasn't working because the cap at the top of the pole was gone, water had gone in there, shorted out, they repaired that, it's working. The other one did indeed have wires melted inside, that's how hot it got. That's repaired and working, but these aren't permanent repairs. What they want to do now is rewire all 4 posts, which I think is a great idea. Again, they're old, if we have new fresh wires and everything, I think that'll be ideal. It sounds like the second post that they wanted to replace, there was, that light never went out. So part of the project is, again, to replace the wiring in all four, and that's why it's a little expensive. But that post was just exposed to fire, but nothing had melted inside it, the other one on the other side. So the way it would break down is that, I suppose if we did the posts on that one side, that we could present the bill to the insurance company for the two that had cosmetic fire damage. But now, again, I would question, am I going to get two posts that look like the ones I have, or are they going to be different? But either way, the wiring on 3 posts, that's the other quote, that belongs to us. The wiring on the one, we're going to submit to insurance, because that's, the fire burned the wires inside there. But the rest of the rewiring is our option, and I do suggest we do it. And that was the one to the tune of...
Yeah, so the two that he wants, the two that he suggested rewiring because of the heat from the fire are $1,640 for the rewiring. And then we have 2 poles over on the other side of the parking lot that I haven't alluded to yet. He was just discussing that the cap on the top of the pole leaked, and they had a lot of water in there. We've had ongoing problems with those, and so they quoted us essentially the same price for rewiring those 2 poles. So we've either got a $1,600 wiring for the fire damage poles and a $1,600 wiring for the water damage poles, or a $3,800 pole replacement and rewiring for the fire damage side. And we can do that whichever way.
And we've already submitted a bill for the work that they did to just get that post going. That's already gone to Keith, and Keith already shared it with Brian. That goes back probably 2 months ago. So the patchwork they did has already been submitted to insurance.
So we would get half or
Yeah,
full 1640 back at a minimum
Yeah.
for the 2 posts
That's right.
near the fire.
And the
And
other
then the other
1640, I'm
16 you
relatively
would-
confident is available in the budget.
That's
this year
correct.
for maintenance.
We
Okay.
can definitely pay that through our budget, but the costs of the posts,
Well, they don't sound like they're that expensive then.
the posts, no, that's a separate
The
cost.
posts are
$1,600 is just the-
$2,200. for the
22.
two- Yeah, for both of them. for
Oh,
two
okay.
posts.
Well, I mean,
To do all 4 posts rewiring is about $3,400 if I'm not mistaken. 16 and 16?
Yes,
32, well,
32,
or
The
rewiring.
rewiring, and the cost of 1 or 2 of those will go to insurance. It sounds like what we're thinking is that the 2 that were on the fire side, why not submit them to insurance? Because the wires in there might have been melted too on the other side.
Well, they definitely, the electrician has said to me several times that, they made a temporary repair, that they were not entirely comfortable with.
On one post.
Yeah, but he
Yeah.
said he looked at both posts,
Right.
and both of them, the wires were affected by the heat.
Okay, all right, that's good.
So
That's
we
fine.
need to rewire at least 2 streetlights.
That's correct.
Okay.
No, we really need to rewire.
Right, sounds like we
But
should
the
rewire all of
two
them.
were compromised.
The question is
by
whether
heat.
we do
Two
the
of which were
posts.
damaged by water.
Right.
I don't know, I mean, if you think, I don't think the heat damaged the metal, it's just damaged the paint on a pole. I mean, you can paint the
Yeah, I
pole.
mean, that's what I think too. Right.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, and I'm not saying I'm opposed to letting the insurance company pay for it or having Universal put in 2 new ones, but it really would be nice if the 2 new ones matched the old ones, and
Mhm.
my experience is you
Probably
can't
not.
find anything
No,
to
they
match
won't.
these days, with
No, I'd go
25,
that route.
30-year-old posts,
Okay.
And then at some point, would we need to replace the poles though, eventually, like
We're gonna
again?
need to replace
Some
them all
point.
someday, maybe long after I'm gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really think they can be scraped and painted and they'll be just fine. Some of them need covers. At the bottom, they have these little openings so you
Yeah.
can get to the wires. The covers on some of them are beat up, but I'm sure those can get replaced too. I think we can bring the posts back to life and then just cover the cost of all the new wiring and all 4 posts, part for insurance, part for us. That's I think that's reasonable.
You good with that, Bob?
Yep.
Yeah?
Good.
Can I just back up? I also wanted to remind you what I said last month, is that the sprinkler system was never inoperable. It's a functioning system,
No.
and they already took care of those leaks, by the way. I'm pretty sure that
Yeah,
they took
I
care
know
of
that.
those immediately, yeah. So that's already been done. The leak, they discovered a couple more leaks. And that, as we know from previous discussions, that could continue to happen because it's a dry system that doesn't drain well, and there's already particles in the system and rust, so.
And Pete's point is well made. Even, we're spending, due to the building inspection, a lot of money replacing heads that are essentially okay. The problem is the little metal discussion around them is missing. And the technicality of the code is that they say that it has to be intact.
The covers.
It would have still worked.
You're saying.
It still works,
Yeah,
but
they work.
they need to be covered, I guess, to protect them from dust and stuff. And this is not a new issue, Katie.
Mhm.
The building inspector has been noticing that for years, but never really cited us on it because they know what we know, which is you can't buy them anymore for
Mhm.
this particular model, which is why they have to replace the sprinkler head, and that comes with its own new cover. Am I right about that? Which is why it became a more expensive product, because just buying the cover, the escutcheon plate or whatever it's
Yeah,
called.
and I think, the only thing I would kind of qualify on that is that the sprinkler company that tests our sprinklers has been putting on the report that those are missing. This is the first year that the inspector chose to make an issue.
Right, gotcha. First year we chose to make an issue of our curtain, too. Does he
New
inspect
inspector.
our other schools in the district?
Pardon me?
Does he inspect all the schools
Yes.
in the district?
No.
Okay. I just wondered
It
if
is,
anybody
it's not local. He's a county person, like, right?
works for the Hampshire, whatever they call it.
Regional.
Franklin, yeah. Franklin.
COG or whatever they
Yeah. Council of Governments.
So with all these replacements, we'll be in good shape,
Yeah.
knock on wood, for the time
Yeah, the
being.
only, we made a conscious decision a couple years back when we looked at the possibility of redoing the entire sprinkler system. That the
Mhm.
pricing we got on that was so high that we felt if we banked the money that we had available and just used that to keep doing repairs, it would serve us well, and that has, I think it's worked very well for us.
Mhm. That's good. And we got the new, the money for the new projects. Are
Yes, we
you
did.
involved?
Yes.
Very excited. Thank you to
The
the
Bohm
building
project.
inspector.
Yes.
But that's not really Bob, that's the technology.
Well,
IT
Bob
team,
and
but-
technical.
The clocks.
Or- Thank you really to the town of Watley for
Mhm.
supporting the project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they will be analog clocks. They will be.
Okay. Any other unfinished business? Bob, you have anything else?
That's all I have.
You're out of here, sir.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to new business. Discussion of non-union salary recommendations.
Okay. Did you get this and this in your packet?
No.
Okay. So these salaries are,
Doing in the food service as far as the director, is that anything happening there?
Yes. We are working on it. At this point, we were in meetings this morning. At this point, we're really not ready to discuss it. But we are working on it. We will probably have more information next month.
So these are percentages, or these are dollars? Looks like
It's a dollar a month.
these are dollars. But everybody's
At
2%.
Yeah.
And that practice that Lynn laid out around following whatever the contractual obligation was has been going on as long as I've been here. It's whatever they negotiated is what we ended up. I say we because I'm one of those non-contractual employees.
So how does this get factored into the budgets that we just approved? Is that in there already?
She
She
did,
must put
when you
something
looked
in.
at, yes, when you
Mhm.
looked at those front pages, it just said proposed non-union increase.
Right.
And so they were put in, they were proposed at that point.
Okay.
So she did put them in. Again, this is,
We'll vote on that next month.
yes, I think so. And tonight it's a discussion
Yep,
only.
says no.
Yeah, says only, that's why.
So that's why, it's just so that you have the
Mhm. No.
information.
I'm assuming we'll have a cafeteria report for June that kind of wraps up where we are with the year.
Yes, we'll have a lot of information in June.
Mhm.
Again, several of us met, and Pete was part of it.
Is there any sense that the increase has helped offset costs at all this year? Yeah? That was January, right?
You mean the increase in the price?
In the price?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't think 10
I don't
cents
think it's
made
gonna
it.
make a
Yeah.
big dent.
No, we are,
Good news is that we do have the salaries in the budget,
For next year.
so hopefully that'll be the last time we have a deficit in the cafeteria. Better be.
So it's just paying for the food?
Well, you've got the lunch program bringing money in, and hopefully the food money, the money coming in will pay for the food and
Covers the
they're covering
cost of the
salaries.
food.
I mean,
Yeah, I think it's.
Seems like it ought to
It
work.
should be able to cover that, right?
so if it doesn't, I think that would really need to be looked at very carefully.
and we've already taken steps.
Okay. Any other new business? All right, we're moving right along here, folks.
Don's
Um,
time.
I have nothing to report. Do you have anything?
No. We haven't had any.
Principals report.
You have one in front of you, and two of them are reminders, and one is a quick update. So I just wanted to remind and invite, and that reminds me, is
yes.
very much appreciated.
The heritage.
All right. Any other business? No other business, so.
Yeah. Oh, make,
I've got some schools, it's because parents don't pay. In other schools, it's because we can't prove to the parents that the kid took lunch. So this would give us a record of every day. Right now, we do everything, we track everything manually. And that adds hours, and we're trying to reduce hours.
The removal of the carpet's really going to change the sound that much in a room, but there's ways to mitigate that. And the reality is carpets, after all these years, are just not healthy anymore. We
Right.
can't keep them clean. And I think it'll be more sanitary and more healthy to have tile floors with floor mats or
Are we-
area
are we-
rug of some kind.
With the tiles, are we picking one colors throughout the whole place, or what do you?
Yeah,
what do you-
we're going to be, I expect that we'll be uniform, but we haven't gotten that far yet. We haven't looked at tile or what we're going to choose, but I expect that we'll want some uniformity. I don't think each room needs to look different.
I mean, I think it's a great idea of keeping things clean and waxed. You know, somebody gets sick, it's a lot easier to clean up,
Yeah, it makes
You
summer
know.
maintenance faster and easier too, because you're not waiting for carpets.
to dry.
You don't have fans blowing on them, yeah. Using the extractor takes time.
Right.
Cleaning a tile floor is a whole lot quicker.
Can I roll back to Meals Plus because I do want to read, it's $2,000 the first time we purchase it, and it's $1,000 annually after that. So it's $3,000 once and then $1,000 after.
Okay, that,
Makes more sense.
Sorry about that.
we're at 7,000. When you hit me with that, I was like,
Well, it's
No,
$7,000 to
that's
get the
still there,
software,
right.
to get the machine and stuff, it's
No,
$7,000.
right, no, but
The
Mrs.
initial.
Tressi, the problem is we don't know that we have the cabling into the kitchen. So it could go up to 7,000 if we have to have an electrician pull the cables and everything else to put
you know, I
the.
went in the wrong profession, I guess. You know? It's gonna cost $5,000 for somebody to run line in there. I'll pull the line.
We'd have to
No,
pay you
your wife wouldn't
prevailing.
want you to be up
We'd have to
there.
pay you prevailing wage.
Yes.
But that maintenance is a lot nicer, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
sorry
you for
about that.
looking up that, 1,000 a year after the first initial year. And that's probably because we'll be able to call them for support if things aren't working
Support
right.
and the updates.
And who's, in our school here, who's gonna be taking care of that?
Well, that's to be worked out. I mean, we're hoping, so it's gonna happen live in the lunchroom.
Right.
So the computer terminal, as the kids come through, and this is how it works in Deerfield. We have a woman that works 2 hours. She works the lunch shift, and she comes through, she sees the child, she pushes the child's name, she pushes the lunch he took, and off the child goes. And then at the end of the month, I get these beautiful reports that are all reconciled and balanced, and they total to what was reported to Desi.
Is that gonna be a lot, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Is that gonna be a lot easier when we're trying to get money from the federal government for reduced lunch programs and, okay.
So the challenge with, this is a cloud-based system that,
I don't think
you don't know? No? Oh, it's not a cloud-based system?
It works
What?
from Power School. It's
Uh-huh.
part of our Power School, which our servers run. It's a
Okay,
secure
so it's on our
server.
servers. So would IT then be responsible for configuring it and
Yes.
supporting the cafeteria workers?
Yes.
And making sure that it's doing what
They
they
do
need
that
it to
now
be doing?
at Frontier and Deerfield.
And so those are the district staff that help with that?
Yes,
is that right?
and they're on board. I did,
Mhm.
before we went through with this, I asked Mr. Paul if this would be a huge, and he said no. It's gonna be some training, some initial training, but after that, he says it's basically seamless. And they run the updates at night on a monthly schedule, and unless the actual terminal breaks, it's
And
pretty
are we
much.
gonna, is Power School being rolled out to the elementary schools?
Power School was rolled out last summer.
year.
But that only is for the staff and the,
No, that's all.
is it for
that's our-
parents too? Or no?
At the high
Does it
school.
allow a portal where you
Yeah.
can look up, go in and see
Well,
like?
Right.
Edline, we have it at the high school.
Okay.
At the high school, they have the parent portal. What we're working on now in the elementary schools is a standard-based report card.
Mhm.
So that all of that information will go into Power School, and they will Power School will generate the report cards. But it's a different rating system or a different assessment system than ABCD or 1, 2, 3. So it actually lists every single standard we're expecting the children to show mastery about.
Yeah.
And then it tells you if they're approaching mastery or if they've made mastery.
Right. But that's what we have now, right?
Yeah, we have a standards-based report card already,
Mhm.
but this is going to be
It's transferred.
incorporated into Power School.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
so
Because we do
it'll
them by
all be
hand,
one
so to
system.
speak.
So we'll all be integrated at the end of the day?
Yes, every school, Power Schools
Which
is
is what
kind of the
you want.
standard, the national standard is Power School.
Patty, I have one very specific question. I know that we moved on to the surplus, but back to this, the FY, last year's school lunch sheet, 15, 16. In June, it shows the bad debt at the end of the year, $885.20. Is that number calculated at the end of June?
That number
Does
was the
money-
number I was given with a list of names attached to it, so that was the final amount at last year.
Okay.
So that should be a
And-
negative.
And one of the things that I'm often asked is, does money sometimes come in after the fact, after
Yes.
July 1?
Yes.
Do we, if the deficit or if the debt is big enough, do we try to recuperate it through small claims court? What usually happens to that?
So now with the way the law states that we cannot leave, that we have to pay the bad debt, and that we cannot leave it in the account in the negative. So once we calculate this, I create an invoice that you sign in the summer, and then that money gets deposited into the school lunch account. Because it is technically town money that paid that $825, any of that $825 we collect after the fact goes to the town, back to the general fund.
The increase that we did, is there any, wait, did you see any benefit or, I guess one
I
thought is
wouldn't
that.
call it a benefit, it was, we didn't have a
And
choice.
it didn't offset enough, I guess.
Right.
for losses.
But if we look, it didn't hurt our participation, because if we look at the monthly participation, September we were at 52%, October we were at 60, almost 64, then back down to 59, December 67, then January it was 62, that's when we had the price increase,
Yeah.
and then it was 64,
stayed up.
63, so it kind of went up, the
Mhm.
participation. And now, I think would be a good segue, Dr. Carey, for you to talk about the plan, so that we can,
Yeah.
because the participation is probably one of our biggest issues.
So one of the things that, excuse me, I'm sorry. That we've been working on, actually since the beginning of the school year, particularly at the high school, is
Last person that came in to hopefully change our program around, and some of us at the time were a little skeptical about it, but, if this person can do it, I'm all for it. I'm hoping Pete's thinking the same thing about, it's been going on for a long time.
Yeah, it's high time.
It's,
No question.
it's, and I hate to have to make drastic changes after November, but
We will.
Well, you know.
We will.
I mean, it's just,
I will tell you, Darius and I spent a lot of time meeting weekly. This, meeting on the cafeteria weekly at the regional school, at the high school, and we put a lot of time and effort into it and invested a lot, and it just didn't take off.
I know at the high school level, when you don't have seniors eating and they're able to go out at lunchtime, but say that's 100 kids, but
Yeah.
still it's,
There's still 520 students
Yeah,
there
yeah,
who
so many-
should be eating. We
yeah.
only graduated 84 this year,
so, I mean,
yeah, so this is a serious issue, and we really are taking some drastic moves. Like I said, we've changed the contracts and we've made different things right now for immediate relief, and then we will continue to push.
and I think I'm gonna ask the same question that's been asked many times. Do we buy as 5 schools food now?
We,
Or-
more than 5, we go out with the collaborative.
Okay.
With most
Good.
school districts in Franklin County.
Okay. So everybody almost has the same menu almost every week, or?
There's no,
Many choices, many choices, and we could be doing more scratch cooking, and I'm a believer, this is what this consultant's going to tell us, that we could be doing more scratch cooking.
What is scratch cooking?
making things.
Homemade.
Oh, my.
Like making a meatloaf, preparing a meatloaf, or making a shepherd's pie, making things that kids want to eat.
Peeling potatoes and then cooking them, and then mashing them.
Not just putting things in the oven and letting them bake for 20 minutes.
Geez,
and 4
you're gonna have to come every day for lunch.
I think having a consultant's a great way to get change implemented. I would encourage us to really think about the scope of his assignment and to really encourage him to be direct and
We don't have to worry about that.
open
Mr.
about what
Halstead
he
is
thinks
very
needs to be
direct.
changed so that we can really act on that.
And we
And that we
will.
will have the stomach to act on it afterwards.
We will have an action plan, and we will live by the action plan for 3 months.
And just as Dr. Carey was saying, we have changed the contract. Our current staff was employed for 260 days. We've knocked that down to 190. There's no need for a food service director for 260 days. I worked for a large urban district, and the only reason that we kept a 12-month food service director is because we had a summer feeding program. We were feeding out of 13 schools all summer long. So that's something we immediately made effective.
I'm not looking at you anymore, I'm looking at Davey.
So-
I'm looking at you,
I just want
Davey,
I
right?
want to correct my total.
I
There
can
are
feel
8
the love,
warrants.
Bob.
There were 8 warrants, but they total $49,315.84. And do we normally take a vote as to the priorities, or what? I don't recall what we normally do because we're not meeting again.
Well, it's really up to my colleagues how they want to handle this, but does that complete your recommendations for summer work?
Yes, it does, sir.
Okay.
So that doesn't give us,
let's-
it doesn't give the town back anything, really, right? We're gonna try to
No,
spend
no.
all
Spend down.
67,
Well, we still have that left, right?
No, the 42 is what I outlined. We would use it 11,000, 7,000, 5,000, and 18,000.
Okay, thank you very much.
The other thing I think that you should do, and it wouldn't cost very much, that little storage shack out here, the roof on that needs to, or something.
the
Yeah, no,
same
that's
building?
gonna be entirely replaced. That's a
I-
project we're discussing with
Okay.
PTO.
That's a
And one way or
disaster.
another, we're gonna scrap that one and.
And the
start
other
fresh.
thing, down long range, you really need to start talking about doing something with a blacktop out here.
and I think,
Something I brought to this
Yeah.
committee before, and,
I mean, you drive in here now and it at least should be sealed this summer. You ought to look into pricing that out,
and
and I thought,
one
we-
of, one
you
of,
know, the
I
cracks.
can put that on the list because if the Meals Plus comes in at 5, there's 2,000. If the garage roof comes in lower than 5, that's a couple
you think
thousand.
just sealing it or just sealing the cracks?
Well, I mean,
I think,
I'm not an expert in that, but something,
my-
you know, I mean, you're very close to repaving that and
yeah.
that.
My conversations with Keith, and you guys know I brought this to this
Yep.
committee before, that it's something we need to think about. I think that what they want to do is, the next time we do it, is to pave over it, you know, raise the service covers and do another layer and change the curbing if they have to, do new curb cuts. But they're not gonna grind it up and take it away.
I mean, especially just, you know,
It needs to be
not, maybe not out
Should that
back,
be on
but,
our
you know.
capital
I was
budget
just gonna say,
planning list?
is this on the capital budget
I
plan that
haven't
Mr.
heard about it
Lesko
so
far.
has presented to
No.
us?
No.
It's not at all even down the list.
Well, I mean, I guess I would propose adding it to that list.
I
so that
think you're right.
I'm gonna
becomes
check my
something we
list, because I'm
fund that
pretty sure
one.
it was on my list.
Of course,
but
the
I'll
biggest
double
thing
check.
that I'm still fighting for this school is still not here, which is a generator. And I know we've gone
That's
round
on
and
the
round,
town.
I'm just voicing my opinion about the generator. I know a lot of things have been done in this last year and capital things and stuff, but, and I'll just bring it up so everybody can hear me on TV, that this school needs a generator for our townspeople that come here if and when there's ever an emergency.
Well, the town did
That's a
vote
town.
money for it, and I don't know where we're at. That's
Yeah.
kinda,
I know
But around
the
the
pricing,
bush,
I've heard pricing because of Berkshire Cast can't do it, so it's either diesel or gas or
Well, there's
some-
still a gas
or
moratorium,
propane,
there's still a
I
gas
know.
moratorium, that's the problem.
or go propane, but how long does a generator last on 200 or 300 gallon tanks, 100-pound tanks? So, I won't say no more today.
Just keeping in mind, that's a
I'm
town
with you on that.
appropriation,
I know.
not a school
Yeah, I know.
appropriation. And I also, this isn't the place to get into it, but my understanding of the language around moratorium is moratorium on uses that would be significant.
They
A
denied
generator's
us,
gonna
they
sit
denied
here.
us, they denied us.
I hear you,
they
Patty,
denied
but a
us.
generator, we
You know,
wouldn't be using it.
well,
unless it
if
was an
you're using a
emergency.
generator, this is what I don't get. If you're using a generator, okay, that means everybody else, most people are without power and they're not using anything. So why would that put a strain on Berkshire Gas system to run our generator? I don't get it.
Politics.
And Bob and I
Big
have talked to them
politics.
every year, and every year I get the same letter when the town of Watley asks me to get the letter. It is an across-the-board moratorium, no
I know,
new gas.
Patty, I get it, but
But that's just.
I'm just mocking the
I know.
government.
Hey,
it's
when that
ridiculous.
new pipeline goes in someday,
There'll be more gas than we know what to do with.
We'll have gas more gas
Gas and
here.
electric is still installed.
So,
I have gas in my house, I just had my gas meter changed out.
I'm getting mine changed over from HG&E too. They don't seem to have a moratorium, it's just Columbia.
It's because they're public.
Huh?
should we make a motion? Should we make a motion on the spending of?
Okay, so let's just quickly review the
How much-
thoughts you had, Patty.
Okay, so it was, we have to pay the school lunch deficit and the bad debt, the Meals Plus software, the garage roof, and doing 4 classrooms, VCT tile.
And if there's any extra, you'll.
Then we can look
try
at
to do
ceiling,
Something with the driveway.
and then or we can look at the shed.
Well, he said if
There
they
are
Two
do
different,
it,
is there a garage and a shed?
Yeah, so people call the garage the shed, but the garage is like a 2-car size garage. The shed has toys in it and tricycles. We are talking about the garage roof.
Okay,
The shed is gonna be torn down and replaced,
Okay.
and we're gonna figure that out between PTO and us somehow.
and then the only
Question.
other thing is that you did approve the purchase of the snow blower from the school choice funds. That has not happened yet. And then this summer, we're also gonna be putting in the new phone system and the clocks and the intercom. So that's the other big thing that's gonna be going on in this building, and we've already
Have we
started
got the
on that.
final, have we got the final price on that yet? Do you
No,
know?
but we started buying components, so once we finish buying, we're doing it ourselves, so we're buying different components, except for the installation.
Who's gonna install it for us?
That I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Is it an
This
electrician?
I honestly don't know who does that work. This is at the IT level. I mean,
Okay.
IT, our IT director.
Fancy
is
digital,
handling
not digital
this.
clocks, but
No.
regular clocks. I know.
Analog.
Wait, that was the only thing that was brought up during the town meeting. Analog
That's
or
right.
digital.
That's
well, we brought,
It's more in the 5 years rather than the 1 year, 2 to 5, or 5+ years.
Maybe that should be a capital.
I
Could
would
be pushed up, yeah.
really consider moving that up and maybe
Do we have
putting a
anything else
request
on the
in the
capital
capital
that we
improvement
gave to the
committee.
town for next year for capital? I know we did.
No, we're doing it for next year, yeah.
Do we have to do it way ahead of time?
No, they have a process, and it happens usually in December of every year.
Unless there's any other
No, I was just going to ask if we could expand the capital process to include IT systems, because there's sort of a move towards systems, you know, a longer look at what's coming.
They don't qualify from a dollar.
From a capital project, but from a planning perspective.
So
It would
we
be helpful maybe
we
next year.
have it, we have one already, so we have engaged in, we purchased small devices because that just makes financial sense. And we had a consultant come in about 5 years ago, and he set the amounts, and then Scott has refreshed them. So we have, we do lease devices as well, and that's more like the teachers' laptops. So every 3 years, and I don't know where we are with this, if you're in year 2 or year 3, but every 3 years we're refreshing. So we've built those payments into our budgets.
Okay. Well, I just thought it would be helpful maybe if Scott wanted to come at some point and talk through with us his planning and how he thinks about it and how that intersects with the budget, because we're only going to start moving to more systems like that.
Correct.
So we'll want to be thinking longer term about some of those as well.
Well, I think you did that last year.
Might not hurt
At the
to
joint
ask
meeting.
him.
At the joint meeting.
If you wanted him here in Watley, we might want to do that early in the year, considering what we're putting in all the phones and stuff. Maybe he could give us a September update. Lynn, what do you think about that, Dr. Curie?
I think that it would be great for Scott to come. I think you'd find him to be very knowledgeable and actually really well versed in every single building.
Right.
He really understands the infrastructure and what we have and the resources that we need.
Could you make a note to have him come in,
Sure.
in September? I'll make the same note, one of us hopefully will remember that.
So I'll make a motion to, with the, what do you want to call it, extra money?
Surplus.
Surplus money to purchase
The
what
priorities as
what Patty has asked for, and Pete's asked for.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Now, we'll put it to a vote. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate that.
So I think we're at public comment. Any public comment?
Girls, you have anything you want to say?
Want to say aye?
Okay.
Okay. Update on the tree project.
You want me to give you an update?
Sure.
Trees are all
They
in
look
the ground.
good.
They look good,
Trees
okay.
are all in the
Are
ground,
they?
they're looking good.
I don't go that far yet, I park down here, so.
It's complete.
Is it complete?
Complete.
It is complete.
A lot of trees.
The last little bit of discussion that I had with Keith was whether or not he wanted us to go ahead and plant grass on the part that was supposed to be grass, and whether or not, you know, what the plan was for maintaining that. I said, absolutely plant grass, and we'll just have our regular mower take care of it. So, no grass out there yet, hasn't grown yet, but, and I don't even know if they've
Any
seeded
weeds?
it. I'm not sure if they've seeded it yet. But the trees are looking good. It looks like some of them have big containers around them that I'm sure is part of their watering system. The first week, the first day they put them in, they used hydrants to water, and that created a bit of a problem because whenever the town runs hydrants, the color of the water changes, it stirs up all the sediment and manganese in the water, and everything turned brown. And then we were told that they were going to proceed by using water trucks. I haven't seen one come in. Doesn't mean they don't come early.
We'll have a couple inches in the next couple of days here,
I
so.
think we've
Rain,
gotten
more rain?
pretty good,
Yeah.
good amount of rain.
When did they
We're
get
working
installed?
We're working on the assumption that the watering is part of the plan, because we haven't been asked to
Right.
water them, and they watered them the first day, you know, with the
Okay.
hydrants. 3 weeks, has it been 3 weeks almost since they were installed, roughly?
Yeah, I think
I want to
so.
say about maybe 3 weeks, not much
And
more.
we've had a ton of rain.
Maybe less.
Yeah.
But at the moment, they look great. And if you drive down Christian Lane and take a look over at the fields, you can see them.
Pete, from my house you can see.
From your house, you can see them. They're still small, but in a couple of years, they'll look like they've been there forever.
Good.
And on big maps, the building still shows. I called them up, I said, that building broke down, when? Months and months ago. Update your maps.
Non-union salary recommendations.
We handed those out last month,
There's been a change.
and there's been a change.
2 changes. The second page, I was asked to put in the same format as the first page, and so I did. So those numbers haven't changed, but the format did. On the front page, the revolving, under grant and revolving personnel, the director of the out-of-school time program came to us and requested that the staff only receive away. If you don't
Is it
agree,
in
you
here?
contact the principal.
Is that contractual or is that policy?
It's not, I don't see the mile away. I
It's
guess
pretty
that's what-
standard.
Well, maybe
But
it's,
is it-
maybe this is not the right, there could be another policy, hang on. There's several policies under EEA, this might just be the,
Well, maybe we should hold off voting on this and you can take it.
So your predecessor can take.
No, so you can take the time and see if there is such policy as to the mile.
Yeah.
And if you want to include anything to
see,
allow
and the
for.
transportation rules and regs is EEAC-R, so we'd have, this is one policy, the mile thing is in EEAC, and I can pull it up, hang on one second.
And I guess the other thing I'd like to ask for is better communication about like who's driving the buses and, you know, maybe there, the information that says here is like bus schedules are in the local newspapers before and beginning of school and individual schools. So the information about the buses is very minimal, even though it's like this policy may be in the policies about who's driving our children around.
Well, what do
know.
you, they're not public employees, so their names aren't public. So I have there's an issue, there's legality So as part of the bid process, we get everyone's license. But as far as publishing who's driving which bus, that's not public information.
Are you worried about like quarry checks and stuff like that? Or?
I just think parents should know who's the bus driver. Like, they should have that information easily available, like who's their teacher, who's their principal. I don't know why.
But the buses are more fluid because it could be bus driver A, but then if the bus has issues, then it could be bus driver B. So it could be bus driver A on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and it could be
Yeah.
bus driver B on Tuesdays and Thursdays because of scheduling.
Yeah. But wouldn't you want to know that? I guess it's just a very important role that someone plays with people's children. And I think
if
that,
we had our own if the district had its own district buses, and we had our own transportation director that would work with for us, but we're contracting out to another company,
yeah,
and
could they do it?
he changes, well, Sunderland's had.
He has the right of assignment.
He changes all the time
Right.
based on,
Well, maybe then we could include it in our next bid for bus services, that we would want maybe more information shared about.
I mean, you would,
I'm just one voice, we should ask other people, but
They're not public employees. I don't know how we would go about that.
I mean, I remember when my kids did take the bus, we knew who the bus driver was. Because we know who it was. Most of them live in town or one of the towns. And we knew who the bus driver was on that particular day. I mean, you should know who the bus driver is. I mean, because you see the same
I
person.
see him, but I don't really, I guess I'm more worried about the accountability. So you're saying he reports into the bus company,
yes.
and then the bus company manages him. And my bus driver's fine, so I don't really have an issue with my bus driver, but
When there's a concern, a student concern or a parent concern, it goes to Patty, Patty calls Lenny, they
well,
work.
this says it goes to Pete, actually.
Yeah,
No.
I'm just,
That is a child pickup, that's not a problem on the bus.
no, everything comes through me, honestly, and then I pass it on to Patty, because I'm not in a position to negotiate with the bus company. But even if we have a problem behavior, even if somebody reports a problem with the driver, all I can really do is pass it along. They do report to me, because most of them don't think about calling
Right.
Patty. But my job is to pass it along to Patty, you know. There's really not much else I
Yeah.
can do.
Yeah,
I
she
mean, I
works
can
with
call the
money.
bus company myself, but since there is a person who manages the whole company,
I'm just trying to make it as positive and safe an experience as possible for our children.
Well,
So-
I have to say that, given the years that I was a principal, which were many, and 9 years on the school committee, this is the first time I've ever heard anybody ask, who's the bus driver?
'Cause most of-
And Whately, the drivers are virtually cemented into the bus. You know, they're the same people year after year. And, and I never heard, honestly, never,
Yeah.
I'm not
No,
trying to
that's
pick
fine.
on you, Katie,
No.
but I've never heard
Well,
anybody
that's what I
ask that
said, maybe other
question.
people don't have that.
They are subject to the same as any other district employee. They're quarried, they are fingerprinted, and they have to give us their license every year. So when we go out to bid, I get that all information. Every year, I also get the insurance riders from the bus company. So, and if there's a personnel issue, as Dr. Carey said, Mr. Gripko and I work it out, and we, as far as I've been here in 5 years, and Mr. Skrosky, you've been here, I can't count how many years. This is, in my experience, in 18 years of dealing with transportation, this is the safest bus company I have ever worked with.
And I'm not saying they're not safe, I'm just trying to promote more community and connection between.
Well,
an
I think
important
the
function
connection is I'm out there, we're picking up my kids, or I'm at the bus stop with the kids in the morning, and I see that same bus driver, and I get in some cases, get to know the person,
But I
like
have
we
to
did
tell
over the
you,
years when
Mrs.
my
Evans,
kids were little.
I've got other towns who complain that they don't want the bus driver knowing their children's name. They don't want the bus driver being friendly with their children.
Probably one of the hardest jobs.
So I just want to add that, that we have two excellent drivers right now. I'm very happy with the two drivers we have now. And that, but if and when there have been times, and if and when there are times in the future where concerns are regular enough or significant enough to raise a concern, I pass all that information along. I also want to sort of support the notion that that does happen now. When there's a student behavior issue, for example, on the bus, I'll talk to Bill, they're both Bills these days. One of them is new to us, the other one's been with us a few years. And more often than not, that driver will say, I know I chatted with the mom a little bit about it, we tried to put together a little plan, the mom or dad talked to the kid, but it's working or it's not working. So some of that informally still happens. I had an experience just 2 weeks ago where two siblings had made an arrangement. One was riding their regular bus home, the other was going on a play date. And the driver of the first bus said to me, I'm missing so-and-so, right? That says a lot to me when a driver realizes her sister's on, but she's not here. And I checked, and sure enough, she was just on the other bus. Really good sign when a driver knows a kid is not on the bus that normally is, So right now, I'm very pleased with the two drivers we have. And I hope that they stick around for a long time.
Well, it's nationwide, not just here, but it's exacerbated because we are such a small community. No one wants to be bus drivers anymore.
I know.
And the Mass Registry of Motor Vehicles has made obtaining the driver's license very expensive and sometimes cumbersome for people to do it. So we have an issue where we've got jobs and we have no applicants.
Don's gonna become a new bus driver.
Here's your next retirement career.
I did that once for Lenny after I retired.
Did you?
How long did it last?
I did it one day, and it's not because,
No, you did it more than one day, you did it every Memorial Day.
oh yeah,
parade.
I did the Memorial Day parade, but I have a CDL license, so I was able to do it, and Lenny was in a pinch, and he begged me. And it was quite funny, because when I drove in the Frontier, Marty was standing outside. We used to stand out and greet the kids when they came in the Frontier, and I beeped the horn, and she really wasn't paying any attention to me. And I made sure she saw me, and she almost fell over. She saw me driving the bus. Anyhow,
Wow.
so you're okay with
Yeah,
that?
I'm fine.
All right.
Are we gonna table it till our first meeting in September to vote on it? or-
Unless it doesn't sound like they're gonna make any changes to it, so if we
Well,
wanna just vote on it.
I'll
get it.
make a motion for the changes in policy EEA.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Aye, unanimous. All righty.
I'll only add, if you don't mind, I'll just add that, for example, with the last request for a couple of riders that were less than a mile away, they're young, there's no sidewalks, plenty of room on the buses. I'm going to say yes to that. If this committee is ever in a position where you have a concern, a question about how I might come to a decision or something like that, please feel free to let me know and ask me. I'll be happy to discuss it with you. But, on a bus that's half full, with a couple of very young kids and no sidewalks, I'll approve that request and say, sure, they'll send them out of the way. Just to give you a heads up.
Okay.
I'm not gonna keep kids off the bus unnecessarily when there's ridership is not really full, and they're young, and there's no sidewalks, and that's a no-brainer. Under different circumstances, I could consider it, but.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, summary of the superintendent's evaluation.
So you received in your packet Ken Cutterback's report. The superintendent's performance goals met. Standard 2, instructional leadership proficient. Standard 3, management and operations proficient. Dr. Carey was consistently recognized.
Is done by the entire school district, our union, the 4 elementary schools, and Frontier separately. So there's 16 school committee members that potentially can write the evaluation or have input in the evaluation. It works, and those are submitted to Ken Cutterback, who is the chairman of the union school committee, and he compiles the information and does the summary that Patty reported on. So just so people know how that.
Lynn. Dr. Lynn.
Lynn. Sorry. You've been around a year.
See, now we're becoming the same.
Yeah,
Interchangeable.
See, that's why.
Committee member with me.
Thank you, Bob. Appreciate that.
Second.
Thank you.
It's been great for me
Okay.
too.
All right, we're ready for reports.
Who's up first? Committee, collaborative,
I'm
do you
sorry.
guys have a report?
No,
Collaborative or
I just said my.
I'm reporting for the last time.
All right, no report.
No report.
All right, thank you, then it's me. So you have, or if we just raised, put a jar out or something.
Yeah, the penny
Plants, oh
thing.
yeah, we do plants for Tanzania. The hanging plants go to
Used to be
Tanzania, thank you.
Just-
And that's actually a good reminder for me to say that that's Brent's farm. I
Brent
forget
Young.
the- Brent Young
Brett.
gives, Brent, I think, he gives us a great deal on those plants so that we can resell them and make some money to do this, yeah.
Good.
Yeah, it's a great program, my kids.
And a
get
little
lot
bit of money goes a long way.
Yeah, that's true.
A few $100s buys a classroom full of desks over there, or a few $100s can roof.
And how does Terry pay for getting down there?
So she, on this particular trip, she is covering her own flight expenses, but the rest of the trip is covered by the organization Asante Sana. That was the deal for her.
Great.
Nice.
Can I just make a comment about the great play that was put on this
Yes,
last
thank
month?
you.
And to really acknowledge the people that helped put that together, Stephanie and
Stephanie Apanel and Steve Damon, yeah.
Damon and
Were
Lori.
the primary players, Lori Gay.
It was
had
a lot
big
of
hand
work,
in that.
and
It
the
was a
students
blast.
really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And I have to say, it was one of the best performances I've
Yeah,
been
that
to
was-
here at the
yeah.
school. So
A
I
lot of
hope-
people chipped in, in terms of costumes or buying hats or just doing small things. It really was a great community effort. It was a lot of fun.
Mhm.
I was duly impressed.
Yes,
It was
so
just-
very
Colorful.
impressive.
Wasn't, the kids were so colorful.
I was the first one to make a mistake. I had the job of changing the songs, and at the end of the first song, I had, with a little bit of moisture in my eyes, and listening to the crowd roar, I forgot to shut the song off. So it went to the second song, and they're saying, no, not yet. So I turned that off, and then I started the wrong song, but it's because I was overwhelmed with the applause. After that, it was smooth, but it really was
It really
awesome.
was
Thank you for
excellent,
bringing that
and
up,
I hope
Katie.
something will continue, because I think
Yes.
it brings a lot to the school.
I mean, they enunciated well, I understood the words,
Mhm.
and the expressions. It was fun. It
Yeah.
was a blast.
We've already met to debrief a little bit about the play. Doing a full-blown play like that every year feels a little daunting. So at the moment, we're talking about maybe having a smaller, in between years, maybe doing a little smaller production, maybe, highlighting some of the kids in the younger grades, and then the following year doing a big production again. That's just us talking right now. We'll see where it goes, but we don't want to give it up.
Yeah.
We definitely don't want to give it up. It was really awesome. It was great. And it's got some expense that goes with it. PTO was kind enough to cover a lot of the costs for purchasing the script and, helping us with purchasing things for the sets and all of that stuff. But it gets a little expensive, but worth every penny. It was awesome.
It was great stuff.
Thanks, Katie, for bringing that up.
Okay. superintendent's report.
Thank you, Don. So you have a copy of my superintendent's report, and it's really quite long, but it is about communication. And I have taken very seriously the request for more information. But what I'd like to direct everyone's attention to is our website. It's a comprehensive district and school website. Our website, the information is extensive. We post all current activities, announcements daily, as well as upcoming dates and events, and any updates as they happen. And you know, Frontier Regional site, the whole school year is posted on a calendar with every activity for every day, for every month. There's also a school newspaper, the Red Hawk Report, which is posted on the website, full of photos and activities of events that will be and will be coming and have happened. You know, Frontier Regional is a very active school. Next year, we'll be televising our student-led morning news on the website as well. Information is also provided on the Frontier website about our 24 clubs and activities. We have 24 clubs and activities, not including myriad of sports. Each club and activity has their own link for more information. Our sports programs also have dedicated links. You'll also find an alumni link, a student health page with information and forms for families to provide us with health information, a library media site with information and all research applications, as well as the library catalog and the monthly lunch menus. On our district website, you will also find large amounts of information, including the monthly superintendent's report, upcoming events, the parent portal for Power School, our district mission and vision statements, our complete staff directory, our current plan for the district, access to every school in the district, and enlightening information on our early release practice. Each school has their own website, but the district also posts important district news and events on our district page. Also, all our school policies are on the district page that we follow. Our school committee meetings and agendas are posted. In addition, if you're interested in our school committee meetings but cannot attend, they are televised on FCAT TV. At Frontier Regional, communication with families about grades, academics, and progress in classes is easy with the parent portal system. On the guidance page, there's information on the SAT and ACT exams, college visit dates, college search information, employment information, handbooks and forms, homework calendars, curriculum maps, yearbook information, school trips, a listing of faculty and staff emails, scholarships, financial aid, and much more. Contacting your school's administrative offices is convenient, as all phone numbers, just going to put it there.
These are just the new calendars.
Yeah.
So, I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion to adjourn.